Welcome to the I Didn't Know What the Fuck I Was Doing.
We're your hosts, Teresa
and David.
This is the podcast with two ADHD entrepreneurs
who've made a lot of mistakes.
Each week, we discuss ways to navigate business, relationships, and health.
We also interview excellent guests who share their own personal IDKWTF stories.
Listen today so you can hear some relatable content
as we normalize uncertainty and obstacles.
Because it's important to admit that no one really knows
what the fuck they're doing. Welcome back, action takers, to another episode of the IDKWTF I Was Doing podcast. I am David B.
And I'm Teresa Marick. And we're here with Jill Douglas again. Jill, you are our first repeat guest.
Woo!
I love it. Thank you. I'm honored.
Interview so nice. We did it twice.
Love it.
We are having Jill back today because we are going to have a whole conversation about joy and what it means to move from apathy into action and create joy in your life.
That's right. Action takers.
Yeah.
Well, Jill, for those of our action-taking audience who did not hear your first one, which after this I do recommend going back to check it out, give us a little bit of a summary of kind of who you are, what you do, and kind of what brought you here.
Yeah. Well, so for the listening audience, I think the best thing for me to ask first is, action takers, have you ever had one of those moments in your life where you're just like, I feel a little stuck. I don't know what's next for me, but I just feel like something is missing or there should be something else and I don't know what. So that is where I found myself at the beginning of this year, actually. So this is 2022 when you're listening to this. And I woke up one day and I get the kids out the door and I go to sit down to work. And I just sat there at my desk staring out the window. And I was like, I feel nothing. I feel miserable, empty, stuck, frustrated, oh, what is this? Like, why am I doing this? And I don't know if you can relate to that. I remember the thought, this isn't how life should feel. I literally heard that thought and I was like, wow. And it just hit me in a different way. And I thought to myself, I have lived 4 decades of my life doing the right things, right? Like be nice, be good, smile a lot, work hard, be consistent, do your practical things before your fun. And this is what I have. And it's not like I don't have anything or a horrible life, but I was just flatlined. And I was like, what if there's another way? What if I chose like what I wanted to do and like what felt good instead of just what I was told I should do? And that was a moment for me where I really was like, wow, I don't want to live anymore in my life. Just half-assing it and putting on the mask. I just didn't. And so from there, I really did a 180. I stopped what I was doing. I leaned into what I loved more, just kind of played around and experimented with things and learned that I really love being with women. I love coaching women. I love being on retreats with women. I love all that stuff and just helping shine people's light. And I found along the way too that when we do live from our joy, that's when life expands and feels so good. And that's why we're here, to feel so good. It's just not what we're told most times. So now I am a mom of 2 kids, 2 boys who always keep me on my toes. I love nature and playing outside and all that stuff. And now I get to do what I love. I love coaching women. I love working with women. I get up excited in the morning, come into my work and being like, okay, I'm jazzed up. And it's so rewarding to feel like what I'm doing with my time is actually what I'm here to do with my time. Because I think we all feel like we're born for a reason. And throughout life, we're on track. And other times we feel like a little like, oh, maybe I'm not there right now. So it's about coming back to that feeling more often. So that's me in a nutshell and how I got here.
So Jill, now that you're back with us, I want to know from you, why do you think it's important to put joy first in your life?
This is a dang good question. How many people are ever taught that when they're young? Oh my gosh, go do what you love. Maybe in the beginning when you're little, but most times you're also hearing, no, don't do it that way. Do it this way. That way's better. Da, 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 da. Do it my way.
Yeah. So what do you want to be when you're 4? It's cute if you say, I want to be a snowman, mom, or I want to be a firefighter, or I want to be a teacher. But then it gets morphed into, what does everybody else want me to do?
Yeah. And I remember Actually, my mom, like there was the When I Grow Up speech that we did when we were in like, I don't know, second, third, fourth grade, whatever, when you were first learning these things. And I remember I went home and my mom was a nurse and my grandma was a nurse. And so I was like, I want to be a nurse. And she's like, no, you don't, Jill. They're terrible hours and it's stressful work. You don't want to do it. And like, I'm like,
Jeez.
8. I was like, I want to be a dancer. Well, that profession doesn't make a lot of money. So you might want a backup plan. And it's like, we're told all that. And even up through high school, I noticed this when I was in high school, like the cards, the messages, shoot for the moon, you land among the stars. Oh, you have forever to go. The places you'll go, Dr. Seuss. Then you get to college and they're like, get practical. What is your major? What are you going to do? How are you going to pay the bills? Let's go.
Yeah.
And it's like, what happened to that? So to me, back to the question, why is joy important? Because you're here. I'm here, you're here, we're here with only one of us in 400 trillion chances of being in existence. There's only one, 400 trillion options to be you. And so that means you're unique and beautiful and perfectly made and intentionally made. I believe we're intentionally made. And to me, the most unique parts of who we are the things that bring us alive. And that's joy. That's the things that make us joyful. And so when you actually make that an integral part and a central focus and a foundational part of how you live, your uniqueness gets to shine. And that's when life also works for you because it's designed that way.
Yeah. And that's talking about childhood. That's one of my like triggers still, is because I really loved video games when I was a kid. And like, I loved them. And again, it was like PlayStation 1. It was all new. And the common theme was stop playing video games. You're never going to make money with that. And now there are literally professional video game players who make 6-7 figures.
Yeah.
With this thing that they love doing. You know?
Right.
And there's so many options if you don't want to just be a player with video games that would make you tons of money had you been encouraged to just follow your passion.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So it's
I actually had
what people can do.
It really is. And not to get into a tangent, but I actually had that moment, like it was maybe like a year or so ago with my son. And I had a moment because both my kids do like video games. One of them more even than the other. And I'm like, get out in nature and play, like have life, real life, like get off the games. Like, but I had a moment where I thought to myself, I don't know why this occurred to me, but I thought to myself, I don't share my deep dreams with my mom because she just doesn't get them, you know, and that's okay. She doesn't have to get them. They're my dreams. She loves me. I love her. She supports me. It just doesn't look like, oh, I can do it. It doesn't look like that. But I thought to myself, I don't share that with my mom because I think she's going to criticize it. And then I was like, wow, probably why I think he was 12 or 13 at the time. That's why my son probably doesn't share his dreams with me because I'm going to criticize it. And I was like, what if I just let that go and said, hey, you love what you love. I want you to be expansive and well-rounded, but you can also love your games, you know? And I stopped making it wrong. I was like, whoa, that was a moment for me. It really was.
It's an amazing level of awareness there.
Yeah. Well, and then when you have your 14-year-old, Xander did marching band this year in high school, his first year in high school, and he loved it. He just fell in love with it. And he's like, if you guys don't come to any of my performances, I don't care. And it was like, really? And he's like, well, I'm doing it for me. And so on one hand, I could have felt like, oh, you don't want me there. But on the other hand, it was like, that's badass. Like,
I got chills. That was awesome.
So glad that you are doing something that you love.
Yes. Follow the little trails that do that. And I think we grown-ups, we just get out of the habit.
I think it's great that I think we have an awareness of it for like the new generation coming up to encourage them and chase those things that bring them joy. But so, what about for those of us who are a little bit older and have had the message our entire life? Don't do that. Don't do this. You can't do this. And we found ourselves living a life that maybe doesn't bring us joy, but a life that is what's expected of us. So what are some tips to kind of help get away from that? Yeah,
that's really great. Because it's one thing to like, just be like, yeah, that's a great idea. Check. And then it's another thing to live it. Right. So, I mean, honestly, the first thing I would actually say to anybody listening to this is to truly ask yourself and then get radically honest with yourself about, are you happy? And I don't mean just like, we can like our lives. We can have great lives. Like a lot of us have a lot of great things in our life, me included. And does it get you excited? Does it like make you come alive? Is there something new about it, different about it, pulls you forward about it? That's what I'm talking about. Are you happy? And even the general question of, are you happy? Like, Do you go to bed at night feeling fulfilled, or do you go to bed at night feeling exhausted and just like shut it down, blank, blank, blank on the screen? And then, oh God, can you look at yourself in the mirror and just be with yourself and be proud of yourself, or be fulfilled or satisfied in some way with who you are? Or do you just like look away? Most people look away from themselves in the mirror. I used to. And that's just sad. And so I think the first thing you do like is become, how are you living? And also busyness. We get so busy, and we're recording this right during the holiday season, which is like the epitome of everybody's, I can't do anything because I'm so busy. Okay, great. We all have things that we're doing, but are you choosing them intentionally? Or are you just doing them to avoid not being with yourself because you're not happy?
Yeah. I think that's a hard thing for a lot of people to do, is to, even if we're aware of it, but to admit it.
Yes.
Unhappy.
Oh, yes. It takes so much courage. It takes so much courage to be with yourself, which is why meditation can be so hard for people, which is why we do get busy, which is why there's Netflix and Amazon and shopping and 21,000 channels to watch, because we have a hard time. It can be really tough being with yourself. But I promise you, if you keep avoiding that, those feelings, that discontent, that apathy, that unrest, it doesn't go away. It doesn't go away. You shove it down into a little box and you try to put a cover on it, but just like a little jack in the box, it pings open. Like sometimes when you least expect it, like you're shouting at your spouse now, or you're railing on your child now, or, you know, you're having a health issue because you have dis-ease in your body. It shows up. It shows up. It's not going to go away. That's the thing. And here's the thing. Here's the question. Whether you believe in life after death or eternal souls, like I personally believe we're infinite beings. But here's the deal. This lifetime you're living right now, whether this is your one and only, or this is the one and only like this, right? So like, how do you want to live it? There's going to come a day when you're not going to wake up. We don't know what day that is. And so what do you want to be thinking about? This is my second tip. Okay. I want you to think to yourself, if I had 1 hour left to live, 1 hour, what do you still want to get off your chest? Like, what do you still want to share? Do you have a message that you even want to tell your loved ones or the world at large? Like, what is that still you're like, okay, I have an hour and then it's done. What is the thing I still want to say? I still want to share that because there's something in you. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's a huge thought experiment to do, which is also an uncomfortable one, was to think about like that end final moment. And I think that thinking about that makes it much more easy to be clear with your wants and not wants. It's like, if I only have an hour left, like, and really get into that uncomfortable state. Yeah. Like, is this what I want to be doing? Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. And what's important? Like, what would I want to leave as my message to the world?
Yeah.
That's big. That's huge.
Yeah.
It's huge. And also it's like, really, I feel like those first two tips, it's like that introspection. Am I happy? Am I satisfied with my life? And reflecting. It's like this number two just takes that a little bit deeper of like, okay, so if I was my happiest self, if I was in alignment right now, what would I want to share? What was the last thing I would want the world to think of?
And I will say, like David, like you mentioned, it does take a lot of courage to be with ourselves and to say the things. Like I had a friend ask me one time, we were in a group setting, and so we were all like, different people were commenting on this, but the question was like, what do you desire? And what do you allow yourself to desire? It's such a powerful question, and it still continues to be like, whoa. But it was like, what do you allow yourself to desire? And what do you not allow yourself to desire? And that question for me was just like, oh, because I grew up in a family that didn't have a lot of money. And so you didn't have desires to have desires. I mean, you did when you were really young, but then you learned pretty quickly that like, well, those don't get met. So you stop having them after a time. And I think a lot of us, again, we grow up and we get practical and we're like, oh, that's a great idea. Or I'd love that, but it's not going to happen. And then we just shut it down.
That's not for me. That's for other people.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not realistic.
Right, exactly. And that's just a bunch of bullshit. Just going to say it, but it can take us out if we don't have tools, or if we don't have support or structure to actually deal with those thoughts that come up that are lies, but we tell ourselves and live like they're truth. And we all do it, me included, but you don't have to. You don't have to live like that. It doesn't have to be the way.
This is awesome stuff. So I hope, because you guys are action takers, you are taking notes here, and just I am over here. So just to recap, so that first tip is ask if you're happy and have that actual awareness of, am I living a joyful life? And then to get even deeper for tip number 2, you said, is to really think about that experiment of, if I only have an hour left to live, what would I still want to share
Yeah.
with the world or with the people I care about.
Yeah.
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 So
Mhm.
action takers, write that down. That is gold
Write that down.
stuff.
Yes, all these nuggets. And we are going to take a really quick break and hear from our sponsors and come back with 3 more tips to send you on your way into the end of this year and the new year. Yay.
Woo!
This is a podcast for anyone looking to improve their personal, professional, or family life.
We craft these episodes so you can learn from or relate to our experiences and opinions,
And we'd love to hear more about you. So if you're interested in connecting with us further,
as well as other like-minded individuals.
we recommend checking out our creatively named Facebook group, Colorado Entrepreneurs.
You don't have to be from Colorado or be an entrepreneur to join, but it doesn't hurt.
Just go to facebook.com/groups/Colorado Biz, that's BIZ, and send us a join request.
Or check the link in the description and show notes below.
Thanks for listening. And now back to the show.
We were just talking about Jill's 5 steps to move from apathy into action in a joyful life.
I'm going to ask is that a lot of people have spent so much time covering their feelings of missing joy. They've gone so long with just feeling like they have to do this next thing or swiping to numb or drinking or doing something to kind of numb themselves. What is some kind of internal things a person would feel if they aren't living a joyful life or not in alignment with the life that they want to be in?
Yeah, that's such a great question because again, there's cerebral knowing something, right? And being aware. And then there's like, actually, what does that feel like or look like in my life, right? So it's a really, really great question. So when we talk about apathy, so there's like an emotional scale that people follow, and like apathy is the one right above suffering. Okay, so another word I like to use is tolerating. What are you tolerating in your life? Because that's not like, I'm really pissed about this, or like, oh my God, I'm pouring on my eyeballs right now. This is like, it's fine. It's fine. So like, if you ask yourself that question, like, what am I tolerating? What's just fine to me? And here's the thing, you can always experiment with your body. The body is an amazing meter of how you're feeling and if something is really joyful and aligned with you or not. So you can close your eyes and you can think about the thing that you're asking yourself about, whether it's something in a relationship or a job at work or a decision you need to make as a parent. Like it can work for anything. And you sit with, like, let's say you have 2 options and you sit with one option, like, should I go this path? And you kind of imagine it, right? And then in your body, you will either feel expansive, like it feels opening and broadening, or you will feel like it's contracting or stuck. If it's expansive, that means that it's in alignment. If it's that stuck, stopped, or contracted feeling, that's a no. That's a hell no. And the cool thing about this, like, so again, your body is not going to lie to you. Energy doesn't lie. It can be confronting. Okay. It is. When you start moving from apathy, even when you're using joy, like, here's what I love. I've done a lot of personal growth work, right? And a lot of it gets like heavy and deep and you're like, man, I am a terrible person who just walks the face of the earth every day. Okay. We don't need any more of that. I want you to be living your joy as much as you freaking can and living life. And then guess what? All the stuff that doesn't match living a life of like amazing joy will come up anyway to be dealt with. Okay. Because it's not a match anymore for what you really want and where you're really headed. So when you're moving from apathy into more action, you're going to feel uncomfortable. You're going to hear voices in your head that tell you things like you're an idiot. You shouldn't do that. Stop now. Bad idea. You're going to experience all that. Your body, you might even go through anger. Like anger is actually above apathy, right? If you're tolerating something and then all of a sudden you're like, F that. I'm over it. I'm done. That's anger, but it's above apathy. It's a good thing. You're moving. Then maybe you'll get to a sadness part and then fear. Everybody hates fear, and fear does get a bad rap, but fear is that final threshold until you get to the other side. Just like in any hero's journey, it's that final cave you have to go into and face that part of yourself. Like before we talked about be the bison. It's like follow that shit to the end, because on the other side of that, you get to like be explosive you, but it does take something. It takes courage and it's going to be uncomfortable. So that's probably why also a lot of people don't want to do it. And There's no judgment if you're the kind of person who's sitting there and being like, I'm good with apathy, or I'm good with fine. I don't really want to rock the boat. Then accept where you're at, be content there, and that's fine. I personally could not live like that because the internal parts of me just get too uncomfortable feeling apathetic or like plateaued. We're here in existence to evolve. And so, usually people do have to numb that feeling somehow because we're not designed to just sit and do nothing. We're designed to evolve. And that means disruption and discomfort to a degree until you're on the other side of it.
Yeah.
That's the bad news. Or the good news. You're going to feel alive though. Like you're going to be like, man, I'm alive.
Yeah.
And if you guys didn't get the Be the Bison reference, the links for both of Jill's prior episodes, part 1 and part 2, are in the bio. So go check it out.
Go check it out.
Yeah.
Find out about being the bison.
You got to be the bison.
Yeah.
Get through that. I feel like we're ready for step number 3. Everything you said, Jill, makes so much sense. I learned so much from you all the time.
And I from you. Thank you. I do. I'm honored. I received that. Thank you. Okay. So step 3. So you have heard a message, right? Like, let's assume you've actually done steps 1 and 2. They do work in order in this way. So step 3 is whatever your message is that you're hearing, you do one thing that matches your message for you. So for me, my message would be at the end of my life, I'd be like, okay, we are here to do what the frick we love. Like follow what you love, follow your joy. That is the reason why you're here, to follow what you love. So for me, my 3rd step would be doing something that brings me where it is. Like I have been through some tough parts in my life, tough times. I've been married to an alcoholic partner and depressed partner and same person, but not two marriages, but then divorced and single parenting and all of that. And one thing that has always brought me joy is taking photographs, is slowing down enough to take a walk in my house, outside, and just take pictures of something beautiful that maybe is just something so normal. Like my Instagram handle is My Sacred Mundane, because I was like, there's something beautiful and sacred in the ordinary all the time. You can always find it. But for me, that was so cathartic at different times in my life. And it just brought me a tiny bit of joy in those really dark moments. So even if you're having a hard time, you can find something that aligns with your to do. A little thing, just a little thing. You don't have to say, I'm doing it all right now. Just one little thing that matches your message for you.
Whether it's like going out and taking a photo or just being in nature or maybe playing that video game or cooking a cool dinner that you like.
Yeah. I'm just curious for each of you. Like, you've had time to now maybe think, and we don't want to think a long time about this, right? But like at the end of your lives, or let's say you have an hour left, what's the message you still want to share for each of you?
Do you have yours?
No, I was actually trying to think about it and I was like, I have literally no idea.
And this is perfect because this is a trap that people could fall into. I don't know. I want to think about this. I want to think about it for like 3 weeks. No, you don't need to think about it for 3 weeks. You need to close your eyes and imagine yourself on your deathbed with the people you love around you or not. And you need to say to yourself, what do I still want to tell you?
For me, it's like when you were talking about it, I really just felt like love is such an important thing in my life. And I think my final message would be like to be here now in the present.
Mm-hmm.
And how much I've learned that the grass is greener, right? And that's why we always want to like aspire for more, but sometimes it's still not enough. And it's like, no, like what I have right now is perfect for right now in this moment and appreciating that. So for me, it's just like, I guess my message would just be about like appreciating and embracing what's so right now in this moment.
Yeah, I love that. Be here now and just appreciate this very moment. It's what exists now.
What's yours, Jill?
Mine is like, you're here to do what you love. Like you're here to do what is joyful for you. Like it truly is that. Like that is the only thing I'm like, do what you love. Yeah. All right, David, your turn.
I mean, I would like to leave some sort of legacy, which I don't know what that is, or something that exists for longer than myself.
But you have an hour. So what would you leave out in the world right now?
Well, I should probably get busy now.
Well, even leave a legacy. Here's the cool drop the mic part, right? This message, it's always the one you want to share or tell people, it's always for you first. Mm-hmm. So like, it's always the message that you first need to hear, and then you want to live it. Mm-hmm. And so for you, Teresa, it's important to know that you get to be present right here and right now. David, it's important to you to leave a legacy, to leave something behind when you're not here anymore. That's what's important to you. For me, it's really important for me to live joyfully. And then I get to share that with other people and help other people do it too. But that's the thing. It's always for you first. So
I love that so much.
And I really appreciate that both of you guys just took that on, because truly I want the listeners even to say, you're like, that's going to come up for them. Oh, I don't know. I'll just think about this or come back to it later. It doesn't take more than 30 seconds or a minute for you to hear that message. It's the first one you hear.
And there's no wrong answer.
And there's no wrong answer. And another one's going to come up at another time too.
So you talk about choosing yourself first, but what if some people have lived their whole life feeling that they need to be doing things or be sacrificing for themselves? They find that living for their own message is selfish. What would you say to that?
So good. So it's such a good question about the selfishness, right? That comes up a lot in our society, and sacrificing ourselves for other people. The first thing I would actually say to somebody who has that experience, that life experience, is how is that for you? Like, how does that really feel for you? Because, and to be radically honest with yourself, have met very few people who self-sacrifice and do for other people, not for themselves, who are truly happy or fulfilled or satisfied.
It ruins relationships, because I am someone who has been there, and it almost ruined my marriage because I stopped being me, the person that my husband actually liked and fell in love with and wanted to start a life with. I was so busy trying to like make him happy, even though like who said he wasn't?
Yes. There's not really another great path. Depression or resentment. I think those are the two major ones that come out of that kind of thing. And it's not noble. I'm sorry. It's martyrhood. It's martyrdom. It's not noble. It's not the best plan. It comes out of, in my opinion, old school beliefs that, existed for reasons, I'm sure, but they're not, again, aligned with like the truth, like God, spirit, source, the beyond, infinite, whatever you want to call it. There's something that is bigger than us. Even if you just believe it's evolution and all of creation and existence, like that's bigger than everything. Like, that doesn't make mistakes, and it doesn't self-sacrifice. You do not see animals or trees or plants evolving to inhibit their own self-expression in whatever way that is. Acorns don't not fall from the tree because they don't want to ruin the grass. No, they're like, shed some acorns, shed some more, cover that lawn. One of those is going to sprout. That's my baby. And I know I'm making this crazy analogy maybe, but I want you to get how silly it actually is. And I'm not downplaying how hard it can feel to shift that perspective or to minimize it, because believe me, I have people-pleasing tendencies too. So I know it's simple, but not always easy to do. But it's crazy to think of not doing for ourselves and trying to manipulate somebody else by being a certain way, saying a certain thing to make them feel a certain way. And also you're really you're doing a detriment to them.
People are much more served when you show up as your authentic self. So
1000%. Yeah. Really good question.
So action takers, just to kind of recap where we're at, the process, if you're taking notes here, is to first ask yourself if you're happy and be aware of if you're happy in living a joyful life. And then to get deeper into that, right, is to ask yourself, if I had that hour left to live, what would I want to share? And then after you kind of have that message, you want to do some small things that match your message, right? Mm-hmm. So any kind of step towards that. Now, a lot of people have lived for so long not doing these things, and they may not know how to even begin or not feel like they can. What kind of would you suggest then?
Yeah, this is perfect. This is actually perfect because it's step 4. Okay. So I would say one of the best things you can do for yourself is find yourself a community, a coach, a support, somebody who is a little bit further than you or a lot further than you, someone who is ahead of you in this path, right, of doing these things, someone who you can see, wow, they live this way and I want to live more like that in my own way, right? But more like that in alignment, and get a part of that community. Get a part of all that, because here's how many people started a diet and they just don't, I'm not going to tell anybody, because guess what? You can just let yourself off the hook. I mean, we don't exist in bubbles. And if we don't have support, those those habits, those ways of thinking, those ways of being, they're just ingrained in us. The synapses are just fired and wired together, and they're hard to break. I mean, it's just like going to the gym and working out. You're not going to get a six-pack overnight by going once. So it does take consistency. It does take effort. And we all have blind spots that we just can't even see. So it also helps to have a community or a leader, a coach person who can see this in you and lovingly call you out and say, hey, here's what I see. You want to look at that. So that's one of the things I love doing for people and with people is for those of your listeners or anybody out there who is ready, who is like, yeah, I want more freaking fun in my life. Like, I want to wake up being excited. I want to have a little bit of what she's sipping on. Yeah, come on. Then join the party, people. It's party bus over here. But, David was like, do you take energy supplements?
I just feel like you don't have to because you're so vibrant and full of life all the time.
Thank
Where
you.
me, I'm like,
was a massive compliment. But no, like when you're alive in life, like, gosh, there's just, why? I mean, woo, it's exciting to be alive, So that is a natural exuberance that is a birthright. It's a freaking birthright. And so join up with a community. There are free options, there are paid options. And I will say too, when you invest something in yourself, whether it is a serious chunk of your time or a portion of your money, you have more stake in the game. If you buy a pass to the gym for $5 a month, you probably aren't going to go. But if you buy a pass that's like $500 a month, you probably will get there every day and go to all the classes and actually use the training equipment and find out how to use it. You're going to do that. So I have invested many hours and dollars of myself because in growth courses, coaches, communities that help me stay on track. Coaches need coaches. We all are on our own track, and the best of the best have the best of the best in their corner. So finding that community, and again, you can do that on a tight budget, on a no budget. You can do that on a big budget. You just have to find somebody who, again, someone you are like, I agree with the values. I'm in alignment. What she says or he says resonates with me. And that community that will hold you to account in a loving way and not just listen to your want bullshit and say, yeah, that is sucky. No, I'm going to say, listen, you're bigger than your problems. I'm not going to treat you like you're small. That's just baloney. So,
well, and Jill, you have a Facebook community, right?
I do. I have a Facebook community called Women Claiming Joy. It is for women. Sorry, David. But
I'm in the community too, though.
Yeah, it's in the community.
It's a great community, guys.
Thanks. Yes, it's called Women Claiming Joy. And that's just a free community. Anybody can come into that and get lifted up, bolstered, ask me things, anything.
Yes.
Totally.
Okay. So what is the fifth and final tip, since you got to find your community? Mm-hmm. And then what, Jill?
All right. Fifth tip, like this is going to sound like nothing, but actually also make a big difference. All these things are like simple to do if you take them on, but also like life altering. This is do one thing that matches your message for 21 days, at least 21. And then you can assess and be like, how do I feel now from the beginning? Do I want to keep doing this? Has it made a difference? And I promise you, if you are taking on just one thing daily with intention that matches your message in 21 days, your life will not look the same. And I promise you that if you do it alone, your chances of getting all the way to the 21 days is going to be a lot smaller than if you do it with other people. So even if you're like, okay, I am an anti-joiner, I don't want to be in a community or a group, but I do want to do this challenge, find one person in your life.
An accountability buddy.
An accountability buddy. And do it with them. Be like, let's take this on and see what happens. I love using the word experiment. I mean, literally when I had this whole epiphany at the beginning of the year, I actually said, I'm just going to do an experiment and see what happens if I start doing things more from a place of wanting to do them than thinking I should. That's all I did. So I'm going to do an experiment. So do an experiment for 21 days and see what happens. And then reach out to me and tell me how you feel, because I would actually love to know.
You don't want to be in a group and you need an accountability buddy. You reach out to Jill or me or David, because we will totally be your buddy too, and like cheer you on and encourage you and call you out. We love to.
Absolutely.
I know, right?
And all of us do.
So again, when you feel stuck, when you feel frustrated and like, God, is this it? That's because you've stopped making progress on something that is important to you or meaningful to you. Yeah. And I want to tell people it's okay to feel that way. It's actually a good thing when you start recognizing, oh, it's time to evolve. Like, we're not designed to be one thing for the rest of our life and be content with that. Like, no. So we hit those times when we're like, I got to redo, I got to pivot, it's okay. You're supposed to feel that way. So Stop making yourself wrong and just embrace it.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So
Okay.
quick recap for the note takers out there. Jill's 5 tips on being more joyful in your life and going from this apathetic, tolerant person and taking action is evaluate yourself. Am I happy? Like what am I doing with my life right now? And is it working for me? What's my message? If I only had one last message to give out to the world right now, what would that be? Then number 3 is take action. Just one action towards that. Big, small, what have you. Just take baby steps.
An action that matches your message.
And then number 4 is find the right community and participate in it. A community that resonates with you.
Yep.
And then number 5 is make a commitment and take actions towards your message for 21 days.
Yep.
Yay.
Yay.
I love this.
Love it.
It's all doable.
Much. All right. Well,
Bite
and
size.
Jill, I want to know too, like, I know you have a lot of like programs and a community that our action takers can participate in. So what does that look like right now?
Yeah, so good. Thanks for asking. So the Women Claiming Joy Facebook community is available all the time, totally free. It's a private group, so you don't have to feel like you're broadcast all over Facebook. So that's an awesome place to just come and connect. I have 2 incredible things coming up, programs. The first one is called, it's a 3-day Made for More challenge. And essentially it's a way for you to relight that fire in you that says, there is something in me that wants more. And I'm just not sure maybe what it is or how to take the steps towards it, but I feel it in me. I feel that unrest, that numb stuckness, and I want something more. It's free. It's 3 days. It's free. There is an upgrade, a VIP upgrade for $37 so that you can have Q&A with me afterwards, ask any questions, get coaching, and you'll have all the replays to keep with you forever. But that's coming up. It's just, like I said, 3 days. It's the 13th, 14th, and 15th. We talk about discontent and like why it's okay. We talk about like, how do you discover your joy and what you love? And then we go into different tools to deal with that fear that will arise. But I promise you, on the other side of taking action in the face of being uncomfortable, you are a whole new person for yourself first, and then out in the world, in your relationships. And I mean, what a beautiful time to like start waking something up. At the end of a year, we're assessing, how'd this year go? What do I want to change for 2023? Like, this is the time, people. This is the time. I was like, I am not spending any more. I don't want to spend 44 more decades feeling any way other than fucking alive. Like, I'm not doing that. So here we go. And then starting in January, I actually have a mastermind, a 12-week mastermind called Be Luminous. And it's about living from that joyful place. So if you're one of those people who is like, I freaking want more joy in my life. I want to be happy. I want to feel like I love my life. Like that's what it's there for. It's to just disrupt all that ick, discontent, stuckness, and get the frick out there. So, and it's a side-by-side course. It's phenomenal. It's life-altering. I'd be honored to have conversations about that with anybody. So those are the 2 biggest things coming up that'll be super, super fun.
Excellent.
So the best way to get in touch with me, if you're like, girl, I just need to know about this stuff, is email me, because I'll see that. So I know we'll probably post that in the show notes, but it's jwinking@gmail.com, jwinkinc@gmail.com is my email address. Or again, find me on Facebook, Jill Winkler Douglas, and like look for that Women Claiming Joy group and get in there and message me. I respond to all my messages. I get to know you. I love people. If you couldn't tell.
Excellent.
Those are the best
Awesome.
ways to do it.
Yes, we will have links to your email and your Facebook information. Excellent.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Jill. I got so much from this. I'm like excited to really continue to expand on my own message. So thank you.
I love it. I'm glad to hear it. Very glad to hear it.
Absolute pleasure hanging out with you again. Our action takers, I'm sure, feel the exact same way. So thanks so
Nice.
much.
Well, you're welcome. It's been an honor. I love hanging out with you guys too. And your action takers. Come on, let's do it.
All right. We'll see you guys next time on IDKWTF.
Yeah.
Bye.
Thank you for listening. This has been the conclusion of our 2-part series.
And hey, congrats for making it here.
If you didn't happen to catch part 1, just go back to the previous episode to get the full story.
It was a really good one.
If you enjoyed today's conversation, please consider liking, subscribing, and or reviewing us on wherever you listen to your podcasts.
Also, if there's someone you know who clearly doesn't know what the fuck they're doing and would benefit from this topic, please hit that share button and send them this episode.
Let's normalize the feeling of uncertainty.
Asking for help and admitting that we don't know
What the fuck we're doing either.